Yes, indeed. Those watching now, those watching later, I'm just going to see myself pop up here. And then we will begin. Oh, what fun. And here I am. It's the Nazarite, bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. Okay. And it's been quite a week. Wednesday night. 2 people here, 1 like already. I'm very grateful. Thank you. So 2 people who are here. Who are you? What's up? Let me know things. All right, so we have a few comments I wanted to address. Hey, Ariel and Sanizer are here. Hello, hello. Good evening, shalom, everyone. Said Sanizer. Nope, okay. I thought I disappeared for a second, but I'm still here. Okay. So, BMXers says, oh, Bloodnose is here. Hey, Bloodnose. He says, at ya or at ya, right? Because I said coming at ya. And I said, it's your call. And he says, are you going to come at the most high ya? And I said, aye, for a most high 5. Elizabeth said, free Palestine, end the genocide, to which, of course, I agreed wholeheartedly. Free Palestine from Hamas and terrorism. And I thanked her for supporting the IDF. Okay, so BMXer says, oh, you know what? There was something from Sanizer from that was supposed to be discussed Monday. I never got to it. Okay. Here it is. Now, he was reacting to Thursday's stream, and Sanizer said this. Right, we were talking about the lamp, the menorah, the candelabrum, whatever you want to call it, the 7-candled golden lamp that stood in the tabernacle and then at the temple, and then there were more. Solomon made more to stand there as well. So he said, right, we were discussing it, that the Chanukiah, the Hanukkah menorah as it's known, or Chanukiah, has 8 for each, 1 for each day, and 1 candle, a 9th one, to serve the other 8. It does not count as a Hanukkah candle proper. It's there merely to serve and tend to and care for the other candles if they go out. Because the Hanukkah candles, right, are holy, we can view them and look at them, but not use them. They are set aside. They are sacred in that fashion. So he quotes the Talmud. Sanizer says, for 40 years before the destruction of the temple, the thread of scarlet never turned white, but remained red, from Masechet Rosh Hashanah. And he continues and he says that this was apparently confirmed in Masechet Yomah, the one dealing with the Holiday of Atonement, Yom Kippur. And he says, along with the confirmation that the westmost lamp did go out for those 40 years, and apparently could not remain lit, and the doors of the holy place would not remain closed, nor could the scapegoat be properly chosen. Firstly, he says, can you verify the translation? So the translation is spot on, except for one thing which is a little inconsistent. It's not that the scapegoat could not be properly chosen. It's that when the high priest would stand there and he would take one of the two, either Ladonai or La Azazel for the 2 goats, right? One would be a proper chatat, sin offering, and one would be taken outside to Azazel, to the desert, to a barren place, and shoved off a cliff. So it's not that it couldn't be properly chosen, it's that the one Ladonai, which was a proper sin offering, it didn't appear. It's like this. He would take them both at once. The high priest would take both of them. If the one that had Ladonai, right, to Adonai, was in his right hand, then the leader there would say, okay, raise your right hand. If he took the name in his left hand, he would say, raise your left hand. And it's not that it couldn't be properly chosen, it's that the one with the name, right, Ladonai, ended up in the left hand of the priest, where prior to that it would, I guess ordinarily, for different reasons, be the right. Right? The high priest is very much associated with the right, as the priesthood is associated with the right, as the Levitical line is with the left, or the line of the Levitical people, not the line. So he says, and then comment he says, so the translation is pretty much yes. And then he says, comment on why God stopped accepting sacrifices around 30 of the Common Era, so 40 years before the destruction of the Second Temple. And he says 3 years before Jesus' death and the beginning of his ministry. And that's the comment. So As for why God did anything, I have no idea. I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. That revelation of God during the Second Temple era, when it was already, the Hashmonai dynasty was not doing well at that point, and it was evident from the things that were going on in the temple that things are not going right, insofar as that when the people of Israel, the priests, Levites, and Israelites, when they came to perform their duties and do the service, whether it was the scarlet that didn't turn white, whether it was the fact that it was that the candle of the lamp, the westernmost candle, what was to some they call it the ner tamid, a forever candle, a permanent candle, one that was always lit and which would be used to light the others. Again, that's only one opinion. Some say that that was not the everlasting candle, and that was a separate one. According to this, Gemara, it actually was, at least according to the person, the Amora, the sage who's bringing this opinion to bear on whatever subject they were discussing or topic. Now, why God stopped accepting sacrifices? God doesn't need anything. We are the ones who need the sacrifice. We are the ones who, humanity had fallen, let's say, to such a degree that it was okay, so start killing living things. And you're a living thing, take the hint. And why God stopped accepting sacrifices, you can read about in the, let's say, the prophets who were prophesying the fall of the first temple. The first temple and the second temple fell for different reasons, and yet you can learn a lot about it, especially since they said that the second temple fell because of the division, and the baseless hatred, sinat chinam. Okay, so I don't know why God stopped accepting sacrifices. I know that it's said that was the case and that this actually happened, because it was a signal for us to take the hint, to figure out why it is that it remained scarlet, why it is that the name came up in the left hand of the priest and not the right hand. Why is it that the doors wouldn't remain closed? Why is it that the everlasting candle was going out? And it's something like what was said in Isaiah, if I'm not mistaken. Heichal Adonai, Heichal Adonai, Heichal Adonai Hema. The sanctuary of God, the sanctuary of God. It means that many people thought there's no chance in all the blue blazes of hell and damnation itself that the temple will fall. And Jeremiah echoes this in Lamentations, in Eicha, in his scroll of Lamentations, and he says that nobody thought that this would happen. People were sort of banking, I guess, on the fact that there's no way that God would destroy his house. Take a look at this. Come on, it's been standing for hundreds of years. You're crazy, you're crazy. And it did. And there were signs, and there were prophets. And kind of the same thing happened in the Second Temple. Again, they fell for different reasons traditionally, but it was time for us to take the hint. And that idea of, well, no, let's not go there. Okay. Well, the idea of 40 and the things that it echoes in the Torah, whether it's the 40 days and nights in Sinai, and whether it's the 40 years in the desert, and it's right, the 40 days scouting the land. Okay, so people, you in the chat, I will go to you in just a moment, but first, why do you think God stopped accepting sacrifices around that time? Or why were all of these changes, why would you think they all went on? Curious if you people have any, your 2 cents. Now, as long as I've segued into you guys, before that, I'll say thank you for being here. It's lovely that I can sit down here with a cup of tea. I have lemon tea this evening. And just, press go live, and we're having, hopefully, a good discussion, a good dialogue. I'll be reading a few more comments, but first, right now, let's go to the chat today. Okay, so Bloodnose, Sneezer, Ariel, I said hello to you. Robert is here. Hello, Robert. Is Paula there as well? Shout out. I'm very curious about it. I only just heard... What? Wait. What are we talking about? Seems I'm back on the day shift. Okay, and he says it was hard to switch back. I do like to fact check before believing. Wait, what was that exactly in reference? Hang on, I'll put the timestamps on here. So you said this at 9:02 and it's now 9:10. It's 8 minutes later. I'm not sure what I was saying right then, but okay. Aliel says, I'm cycling. Take care, man. Take care. So won't be able to comment much this evening, but looking forward to hear what you guys have to say. Be safe, be well, be cautious. I figure super easy for you to verify. Pretty much, yeah. But again, there are nuances and intricacies in Aramaic that I, as a non-Aramaic speaker, you know, so yes. I picked those words myself. I don't fully understand the choosing of the scapegoat. Okay, hopefully that cleared it up a bit insofar as tradition describes it. But if you have any questions, again, about that, feel free, let me know. It's more like the choosing method changed. To me, he says, it means it could no longer be done properly. Well, that idea of the left hand, right, and narrowness and judgment and vengeance and anger and wrath, these are all associated with the left side. It's all associated, right? The impurity, the uncleanliness, the other side. It has a good and bad in itself, but from that Gemara we can understand, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. We can understand that there was, for a very lengthy period of time, I suppose. You know what? It's either or. Let's just say, forget what happened before those 40 years. For the length of those 40 years, during those 40 years before the destruction of the temple, it was only left. Even if before that it would be left, right, 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 left, left, right, right. It was 40 years of left. You know what I'm saying? Taylor, hey Taylor, hello, hello. Do you accept the existence of UFOs or extraterrestrials? Are they angels or the sons of Elohim? So, I don't know about UFOs. I know that normally the military is light years ahead of the civilian population. And I'm of the opinion that it's more likely that what people described as UFOs were military aircraft, that had not ever been seen before. Makes more sense to me than anything. Military industry. And so that's what I would think it is. As for the existence of extraterrestrials, I don't know if there's anything that bars their existence in the very same way that there are, at least according to Orthodox teachings, there are at this very moment many, many angels and demons and spiritual beings here right now, occupying not this space, not this time. It's a different plane of, let's say, it's something that if I heighten myself, let's say, I'd be able to perceive. It exists in parallel, right? It's all levels of divine revelation and emanation coming to a culmination of some sort here in the physical world. From the most spiritual thing, undescribable, unknowable, untouchable, to the very physical earth that we traditionally are also made of. And so you have that extraterrestrials, it could very well be. It's not up to me to decide here or there. I don't think they're spiritual beings, angels or sons of Elohim. I think if there are extraterrestrials, they are, I don't know if bound to the same laws of the physical universe, because what do I know? But I'm thinking that other sorts of life can exist in parallel to human life here on Earth. That's what I'm thinking. So Nezer says, I don't know, but to me that's pretty strong evidence for Jesus, just coincidentally around his ministry. Okay. A pretty strong evidence for a Messiah of some kind? Definitely. When things are going very bad, that's when the good can come and counter the forces of narrowness and limitation that characterize the left side. When the left side gets stronger, there's this, at least ideally, there would be this force that is stirred in the right side to bring balance. And if not in the right side, then in the place where they both end up, right? And in Tiferet, let's say, right? In that center, in that core, where there's digestion and discernment. So I'm not negating the fact, Jesus traditionally lived then. So I'm thinking those who believe that he was the king and the Messiah, it's very strong evidence for Jesus in that case. But seeing as I don't see him as a savior or a Messiah because he's dead, right? Then I'm saying, okay, like I've said so many times, it could very well be that had I been around at the time, I would have followed him. So if we take that characterization of Jesus in the New Testament and in the minds of Christians, right, as this unconditional love, as this Son of God, right, the Word become flesh, the epitome of everything that is like good and righteous and pure in this world, the perfect man, all of that, I'm like, yes, a force like that, personified, not personified, would definitely be called into being because of the left side that was gaining strength, right? And there ought to be a balance. So it's coincidentally you put that in quotations and as if you're sort of doubting that, oh yeah, coincidentally, no, it's for those who believe that he was that, it definitely does, it definitely does coincide in a very logical way. We know that when Israel does the wrong thing, God sends prophets, and this is something that the prophets themselves were lamenting. It's like, God gave you the commandments, gave you the Torah, brought you to the land, the whole shebang, conquering it, and so on, and now you're going astray, as it was said you would in the Torah. It's wasn't prophecy, but it was like, yeah, that's probably going to happen. And so I've sent, right, Hashkem v'shaloach, right? Every day I've sent my prophets to you, and you have not been listening to them. These are things that are prophecies about this very thing. Okay, willingly blind, he says. Holger Ritter, haven't seen you in a while. Hello, hello. Blessings, he says. Blessings to you. Be blessed. Be a blessing to others. Oy, oy. Okay. It's something like they killed the Messiah. I'm not sure what you mean. It's something like they killed the Messiah. Paula says, everybody help me wish Robert a happy birthday. Ha! Have a wonderful new trip around the sun, Robert. We've digitally known each other for years already, right? I mean, what has it been, 6, 7 years since we've digitally been in touch? You sent me a gift for my birthday, if I'm not mistaken, back when I was in the Netherlands. It was the only time I ever received a gift, and I am happy I did it just that one time, and it was special for me to receive it. It was special of you to give it. Happy birthday, many blessings. Be blessed, be a blessing, Robert, to you, to your woman, to those around you. Robert says, Job, lost his businesses, his kids died, and his friends aren't helping. And Iyov still says, for I know my Redeemer liveth. Wow, what a man, what a quote. Well, could you bring the full quote from whatever version you're reading? Bloodnose says, there is no reason to wonder why God stopped accepting sacrifices. We cannot know the mysterious ways. Taylor says, animal sacrifices were stopped because Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, Samaritans, and Zealots all fought each other on how they should be done. Hence, the animal sacrifices became vain. Yes, precisely that. Exactly that. The Pharisees and Sadducees, continues Taylor, literally had a 5-year civil war because they disagreed on how the Sukkot offering should be done. Ridiculous. See, it's awful and it's tragedy. It's not ridiculous. I don't think it's ridiculous because it's that sword that sharpens a sword, right? It's that the jealousy of the scribes that can proliferate wisdom. And it just went astray because of the nature of the time and what they were going through and the Romans and all that. Now, you could say it happened way before that. I don't know, maybe, but it certainly took a hit back then at the time of towards the end of the Second Temple, boy. Oh, man. And the emergency rations, let's say, of Jerusalem were burned. Ay, ay, ay. And in 2 days, we have the fast of the 10th of Tevet, which is very much associated with the fall of the temple, the eventual fall of the temple. It's the day when Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, began the siege that lasted, over 2 years, almost 3 years. And yes, a 5 year civil war. Right, and that's also why I'm going with the Hebrew thing more than I am with the Jew thing, and I've said this many times. To be a Hebrew to me speaks to sort of a wider thing than the modern day Jew with all of his wonderful qualities and awful qualities. Things like, yes, being a Pharisee or a Sadducee and a religious sage, but having a civil war. What are the hills that we die on, really? They certainly, yeah, it was really awful. 7-stick menorah for me. 7-stick menorah. That's how you say, okay. Sneezer says aliens who are from our future, not space, don't need craft. The craft are all ours. I see. So you're saying it's a temporal thing and they have a what? Oh, they perform some sort of astral projection of some kind? I'm curious what you think. Favorite all-time Radiohead song? I mean, I suppose I have to go with the Street Spirit. I mean, no, you know what? It's Weird Fishes. Weird Fishes, it takes them, it really does take them. It's such a hopeful song. It's a song about tshuva, as far as I'm concerned. It starts with the words in the deepest ocean, bottom of the sea, and the last words are, I hit the bottom and escape. And there's a lot there. And the entire, so yeah, I think all time, look, until that song came out, which was 2008, I suppose my favorite had to be either Street Spirit or Paranoid Android, but once I heard that song on In Rainbows in 2008, I think that's been my favorite song. It really is so hopeful and so it really touches me. I mean, their music in general touches me in a very deep way, but that song definitely touches me. Same universe laws, different ways to interact with time. Right, it's that dimension that we haven't been able to traverse in the same way that we traverse space more and more rapidly. And will we get there, Sneezer? What say you? Time travel, the arrow of time in the quantum mechanics sort of way. Is it linear? Does it have to be linear? Is it possible as far as you're concerned? Taylor says Rome did not originally want to destroy the Second Temple. Yes, that is true. They had a pact with Yehuda for a time, if I'm not mistaken. In the beginning of the Hashmonaid dynasty, after the miracle of Hanukkah took place, they, if I recall my book of Maccabees, they were very taken and impressed with Rome and with the fact that they have a Senate and with the fact that they have a leadership which changes. That is a people's Senate. Okay. The zealots of Galilee provoked Rome to destroy it. Jewish zealots killed other Jews in order to control the temple. Yes, it's awful. It's really, really awful. Whether it's to control the temple or whether it's to control the minds of the mob, insofar as these are the laws of the Most High Hebrew God, it's just, oy, 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 oy. Can't you hear those steel rails humming? So yeah, Robert Harrison, I listened to Hobo's Lullaby, and it's bittersweet. I mean, I'm not. I do believe that we need some police and some discipline in a well-run state, and this also is in the Torah. Shotrim v'shoftim, titen lecha shoftim v'shotrim, in the book of Deuteronomy, judges and keepers of the law, the peace. You'll place right within your gates, and when he says, the police are troubling you, but in heaven there are no policemen. It's bittersweet. Okay. I missed that. Happy birthday, Robert, said Sneezer. Genesis 11:7. Let us go down and confuse their language. Yes, that's right. Sneezer says, pretty sure when God punishes you, you're supposed to know why. Well, let's put it this way. When God punishes you, you're supposed to know why. I think you can ask why, and you can do the soul searching of why is it that this would happen to me. Now, there are two ways of going about this, and both sort of simultaneously exist. One of them is hashgacha pratit, one of them is hashgacha klalit, and it goes basically like this. The question is God watching every single thing that is going on in creation at this very moment? Or, right, and making the laws of physics be at this very moment, across, right, the whole scale of the universe, controlling every tiny micro, every tiny subatomic particle? Or did God create the laws of physics, the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, and basically lets them do their own thing and left that dominion of control of the elements, let's say, to mankind? And so control of the elements means also the elements inside of you and your different drives, your different impulses, your different inhibitors, things that you are, right? Discipline your mind, discipline your body, right? That's what Torah and mitzvot are about. When God punishes you, you're supposed to know why. Know why? I don't know. You can hypothesize, right? You can have an idea of why. You can associate a certain something with something. I know that whenever I do get, let's say, a canker sore seemingly out of nowhere, I don't usually blame my diet because I don't get them regularly. And if I hadn't eaten something which burned my mouth, it's not like that. No, a canker sore that I know is a canker sore. I will sometimes, usually I think, almost 100% of the time, associate it with me thinking, how am I conducting my speech? How am I using my tongue? Am I using it in bad ways, for bad purposes? That it's something that would cross my mind. But knowledge to know why? It's like if you had a prophet, or you have a kind of inner prophet, like your kidneys teaching you, and you can really, really make that connection and know for a fact, oh, X is happening because of Y. Okay. But to say you're supposed to know why, I'm wondering why you say that, Sneezer. You're supposed to know because God ought to tell you, or you're supposed to know because you know why if you'd only search deeper, right, and wider, and you'll find something where you can say, you know what, it's that. And then that begs the question, okay, but isn't that sort of putting the arrow in there and then painting the target around it? God doesn't do anything for no reason. Well, again, I don't know God. All I know is the revelations of the Most High, and they are indeed precise. However, part of that precision, part of that ultimate balance, is to also give the devil, as it were, his due, to also give the left side its permission, right? There, as I've mentioned before, there are times when, let's say, it's encouraged to stay indoors and not outside, which is the first half of the night, because that's the time when the, let's say, forces of judgment, of the left, of uncleanliness, of impurity, the wicked side, the bad side, the other side, the klipa side, the husk, the shell, that has not entirely free reign, but it has reign. It's the dominion of that divine revelation. And even if you are the most righteous person in the world, for that precise reason of you were at the wrong place at the wrong time, seemingly for no reason, you get punished. Why? You don't know why, but there was something outside that had its way at that time, in that place, at that moment. And does it sort of factor into the grand scheme of things eventually? Yes. Does it factor in for you on an individual, personal level? No. What have I done? I'm blameless. I'm innocent. The innocent definitely get punished. All the time. Seemingly for no reason. No. Pinky Winky is growling at me. Well, I have what? You want tea? I'm not giving you my tea, and I'm not eating any food. Actually, good people, I have 2 majhul dates. It's called the king of dates, and I love them. Yum, 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 yum. And I contemplated eating them right before I went live, and I didn't, and I don't know if I'll eat them live. But if you want, do tell me. Do you want me to eat majhul dates live on air with you? Let me know. Let's continue with the chat. Robert, Jesse Loop. Hello, Jesse. As far as I know, Jesse is the English translation or version of Yishai. Robert, Elohim is God with others, male and female. 1 Proverbs, verse 27, 8, 20, 24, no Trinity. Well, I agree that for the Hebrews there is no Trinity, and there is a revelation in masculine and feminine forces. But the world isn't against Hebrews, only Zionist Jews. I don't know that for a fact. I think that even before the modern day Zionist movement of that started at the second half of the 19th century, I think there was plenty of hatred and being against Jews as such. So, God never told Job why, Jesse Loop said to Sneezer. Sneezer replies, fair point, but that was a test, and it wasn't 2,000 years long. Robert says, Eov 1925, the full quote? Cool. For I know my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. Ezekif. That's a wonderful verse. Now you probably, ideally, for you, is that, oh, that's Jesus. I, as somebody who doesn't follow Jesus, I see that as, again, a revelation of God called the Redeemer. And that idea of standing upon the earth and having that sort of spiritual thing on top of the material thing, where you prepare the basis, which is material first, and then you imbue that with spirituality, thereby giving it that perfect, harmonious element that was missing from creation. And then when the spiritual and the physical have that, let's say, well, again, it connects to me with eating from the fruit of the tree of life. Okay. Bloodnose says, all this busy business with people talking is dying right in front of us. Only our actions mean anything. Let me read that again. All this busy business with people talking is dying right in front of us. Can you elaborate? What do you mean? Also, I'm talking right here, right now. Does that mean that am I taking action right now, or am I only talking? You tell me. No, time is not linear. Well, from some perspectives it is, obviously, said Sneezer. It loops back on its center like the infinity symbol. Where it meets itself in the center, it can change that point, moving the center forward and rotating eternity through the omniverse. Of course, that's simplistic. Each infinity is covered in infinities. Yes, it fractals in and out of itself, as I like to say. The revelations of God in the 10 Sfirot and all of the 10 within the 10 and so on and so forth, and the coming down of the different worlds and the different halls. And we have that ability to make a difference by shooting the highest, right, to the highest goal, and it trickles down from there back to our reality. And the way we conduct ourselves here makes a huge difference, in the very same way that time loops back, and where it meets itself, it can change. And I think that when you have that meeting, right, of the physical and the spiritual within you, then you can affect greater change in the world. Not only then, obviously, but insofar as this, well, let's just keep it at that. Happy birthday to our good friend Robert Harrison, said Bloodnose. Indeed, indeed. Happy birthday to you, man. Robert says, a lot of Messianics say the Kadosh Trinity was in Bereshit chapter 1. You have Adonai creating the earth. You have the Spirit of God hovering on the earth. And you have God the Son, which was the light. Yes, I've heard this before. Ariel says, who would you most like to share a doobie with? That's a great question. Who would I want to smoke with? Oh, I don't know. I don't think I've ever thought of that question. I'll have to get back to you. I really don't know. For some reason, immediately I thought of Snoop. To smoke a joint with Snoop? I don't know. It would be very different than, let's say, I mean, my mind went to Snoop, but I don't think that's what I would choose. Sneezer reacts to Jesse, not only Trinity, mind, body, spirit, but also duality, male, female, and unity, also quadity and quintity, right? The 4 and the 5. Blood nose, right on, bro, thank you, says Robert. Yes, Jonathan, we are the controllers. It is through us God works. Yes, hence being that image of God. Wait, now it jumped. Oh, there it is. Okay. Shared one with General Levy here with General Levy, the musician, here in Mallorca once. Is that a musician, or am I thinking of someone else? So Nidra says to Jesse, but don't focus on the duality or later, it's the unity that matters. And there we are in agreement. It is the unity that matters. Both, Jonathan, if you search deeper, you'll find God told you many times, said Sanizer. Ariel says that was wicked, wicked, incredible. Wait, what was wicked, wicked? This was 8 minutes ago. I don't recall what I was doing right there. Okay. Robert says, what do you think about the Radiohead song where he calls himself a creep like you? So it's creep like you it or nah? I mean, I know that it was very popular in Israel at the time when it came out, or shortly after it came out, sometime after it came out, and it was actually the success of Creep in Israel, which made a difference for Radiohead at the time, some sort of difference. And as for the song, I remember being in high school and very much being into that song. And I didn't get seriously into Radiohead until my mid-20s or so, early 20s. But when I was a younger teenager and the Bends came out and OK Computer came out, and I loved the singles from there, I just never pursued it. So what do I think about it? I think I can definitely understand that longing, that desire to be seen, to be acknowledged, and the failure and the just the complete and utter misery of the moment when you've been rejected again, or when you are invisible, or when you feel like everybody else on the face of the planet is doing something except for you. I get that. That desire to be with someone, that desire, that limerence that you feel, that sort of infatuation, your skin makes me cry, is a quite a lyric. Okay. Being punished for doing nothing wrong, says Bloodnose. Every person prosecuted by Nancy Pelosi's version of justice on her insurrection day. Wait, what? Oh, he said being punished for doing nothing wrong is every person prosecuted by Nancy Pelosi's vision of justice on her insurrection day. So I don't know what you're talking about because I don't follow the politics. I've heard the name, but I have no idea what's going on or what you're talking about. Others in the chat, please chime in because I have no idea. Yes, Jews, not Hebrews. Please eat a date to show us what you do with the pit. Well, I throw it out. That's what I do with the pit. Robert says, in your opinion, what you're meaning when Eov says, for I have a witness pleading my case in heaven, and my record is recorded on high. Well, traditionally, when you perform a mitzvah, do a good deed, and do something positive in the world, it creates, let's say, a witness or an attorney, let's say, right, a litigator for the defense. And when you transgress, right, and you do negative things, perform bad deeds, bad actions, then that creates a prosecutor for the that creates a prosecutor. And you have this idea. People say it's more Zarathustranism in its core or in its origin or whatever it's called. That idea of that judgment at the end of life. But the idea is that you are judged, at least to some degree, after your death, and that you have witnesses for the defense and witnesses for the prosecution, which are the spiritual beings that you created with your thoughts, with your deeds, with your words, with your actions, with your behavior, with your intent, with your will, with your desire. And of course, things happen, they manifest, and that's the most important thing, right? The physical action and so on. But the Zohar very famously says, there is no goodwill that is lost. And that's, I think, what it says, what it means, at least according to tradition. What do I think it means? I don't know if I can really divorce it from what I learned through Orthodox teachings, but I believe that I ought to live my life as if that day of judgment after my death is a coming, as if I really truly will be put, and the DVD of my life, right, the movie of my life will be rolling, and there will be a tally. There will be the scales of divine justice, the most divine justice, because it was things that I brought into the world for better or for worse. Now, with things that were out of my hands, and I'll come back to that in a moment, that's out of my hands, things that were under my control to the degree that it was, even if it's only perceived control, not real control, you can argue here or there, it means that there will be judgment. And if the scales tip, that means that I need to be purified, right? Then I need to go to that, what's called Gehinnom, which is a place of purification, and later on go to the lower Gan Eden, as it were, the waiting room, the lower Eden, in order to await the fruit of the tree of life with the rest of the souls, for all intents and purposes, who are there. On the other hand, I'm saying, yes, I ought to live my life like that. Do I believe that that actually takes place like that? I would say that you create your own afterlife based on your life. So I can't really say. I know that, right, that justice, those things that are out of your control, right? I said I'll come back to that. Rav Kook in Orot HaTshuva, he says, and I've mentioned this before, that when you accept ownership and responsibility for your wrongdoings and you strive to remedy them, correct them, fix them, make them whole, whatever the case may be, when you make that attempt and take full responsibility for yourself, that exactly is the point where responsibility is taken off your shoulders. If you truly take it on yourself, it's then removed from you. Now, it's not a light switch, but it's a kind of something to meditate on and try to see in your own life. When you take responsibility for things, let's say, what happens as a result of it is not always under your control, but you can be assured of the fact that you did the right thing, you took responsibility, and you did whatever you did in good faith with good intentions, after giving it thought, whatever it is, in the best possible way, and then it's out of your hands. You have rolled the ball in a certain direction, in the direction of good and of righteousness, of honesty, authenticity, whatever the case may be. What goes on then is out of your control. To some degree, it is, it isn't, whatever, but that's what I'm saying here. That you will be judged because there were things that were under your control. On the other hand, once you do in this life manage to take ownership and be the responsible one, then the things that happen afterwards, and also retroactively, according to Rav Kook, your wrongdoings and your transgressions, the iniquity, not only will it won't be erased, it will turn into merits. It will be turned on its head. Things that you did sort of consciously, transgressing, if you make tshuva and return to the root of who you are as the image of God, you will be able to have that transformation happen. And the things that you did, even to spite and anger God, will be considered merits and good things. Now, there are certain things, and we see this in the Torah, and we see this in Halacha with the Sanhedrin around anyway. If you murdered someone, you are killed. Meaning that is part of that atonement. That is part of your tshuva, to be put to death. I'm just giving that as an example, a very, very extreme example that barely ever happened, according to the Mishnah. Because God always waits for the wicked man to make tshuva. But there are some things where the tshuva, let's say, is part of it is death. Just like it came into the world back then in Eden, it's coming into the world again now because of you, and you will be put to death. You went against your humanity, right? If it's premeditated murder. Now again, only once every 7 or 70 years would the Sanhedrin do that. Certain things are out of your control, but certain things are under your control. And you can ordinarily control not to murder in cold blood, let's say. And that is that's punishable by death. Because then it's not you saying, oh yes, I take full responsibility, I sinned, I murdered someone, and now it's out of my hands, and it was God who did it through me, and I didn't know what I was doing. I take full responsibility for it, and now I can let it go, and now it's God's. No, you'll be put to death. That's something that it's like, no, you can't. Okay. Let's continue. Bloodnose says, I think people are more than ever distrusting of what people say. I wonder why that is. Why do you think that is? That was a very good cup of tea. I enjoyed it immensely. I have never had a date, said Sneezer, outside of Fig Newtons, which I absolutely hate, and so have never had a date. Wow. Well, look, if you ever come across a majhul date, try them. They are sweet and juicy. Well, sweet and some people don't like the consistency or texture, let's say, of dates, but oh, I love it so much. Okay, whoa, I'm sorry. It jumped once again. Where am I? Oh wow, a lot of people. Hey, my woman was here at 9:36. Apparently, that was 11 minutes ago. I'm sorry, the chat jumped. I don't know where I am now. Here I am. Right, more people are distrusting, and you've never had a date. I'd like to smoke a doobie with all of you, LOL. That's a good answer. I'd like that. Okay, let's do that. Let's go with that. I got refused to a Snoop concert because I had a joint on me. How ironic. Oh man. Oh man, that sucks. When I saw Radiohead, incidentally, when I saw them live in 2017, I didn't bring any herb with me, but I've mentioned this before. A lovely couple who was next to me sparked one up, and when I smelled it, I said, it's a good scent, and they were like, you want some? I said, yes. That was fun. They also gave me some gut, or jut, as it's known, which was also very nice. Pomegranates and dates, the biblical fruits. I love pomegranates, I love dates. And my woman said hello. Hello, woman. Just B.O.B. Just Bob says, long time. Give Jimmy Seville a shout out ASAP. And do Herbert, or shout out Jimmy doing the Herbert voice. Okay, so just B.O.B. It's been a long time. And what? These are all pedophiles, if I'm not mistaken, or convicted criminals of some kind. Okay. Let me. My Herbert. Wow. Wow. I can't do a Herbert. You get your Hey, Herbert. No, I can't really do it. I certainly can't do the whistling S. Ta 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 ta. Ta 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 ta. Shout out, Jimmy. I don't know. That wasn't good. Oh, my woman gave me a heart. She's a keeper. I meant to say, do you like it or no? I mean, I do like pomegranates and dates, but I don't know what you were talking about. You're probably reacting to something else. Yes, General Levy is probably the best known jungle dean, but yes, I've heard the name. I may have seen him once. Was he here? I may have seen him. Bloodnose says, when one mentions Jimmy Seville, just B.O.B., one must also mention King Charles, Sadiq Khan, Keir Starmer, Angela Rayner, and Rolf Harrison. I don't know those names. I am ignorant. It's just a joke we have going on for a while, he says to Bloodnose. Yes, it is, and I don't know who these people are. Ariel says you should have told the bouncers to ask Snoop if he minds you bringing it in. Then they'd probably just toss him out for being a smart ass. Suneezer says, the judge we stand before is ourselves, but the completed self. one who is with God. That's why God always judges fairly, mercifully even, because God lives as us, but God remembers where we do not. So once again, is it not converge? Anyway, there's a split in the road. We split on this because I don't think God lives as us. I think it's a divine revelation, right, that we embody, but not God itself, not God himself, herself, theyselves, themselves. Ludno says the majhul cultivar originates from the Tafilate region of Morocco, where it is still grown. I love majhul so much. Oof. Ariel says, just got hit by the biggest side wind I have ever experienced, almost out of the blue. Actually swerved onto the wrong side of the road. Luckily, no cars about this time of year. Oh, wow. That is dangerous, man. I'm glad you're okay. Excellent, Sneezer, says Bloodnose. What's the chat's opinion on legalized? Good thing or bad, says Robert Harrison. Well, I'll let the chat answer. Sneezer says to Bloodnose, sort of, we tend to forget a lot of bad. Forget a lot of bad. I wonder what you mean by forget a lot of bad. Okay, maybe you can explain. You're in Hawaii, Ariel Marshall? Very windy time of year, said Bloodnose. We remember La Haina or La Haina. Look at what's happening in LA right now. See, I don't know those places, man. Sneezer answers, generally, the legalization is a bad thing. In Canada, all the legal weed is full of pesticide. Oh, that's not good. Hey, James Bong is here. Shalom, everyone. Another good Q&A from HN. Thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence and the kind words. Robert says, Trump doubles down and says he's going to open up a can of you-know-what if hostages aren't back by January 20th. Sneezer says to Bloodnose, we're supposed to forget the good. Pardon me. It's for the witnesses to remind you. Is it that you're supposed to forget the good according to you so you don't get all high and mighty? Hey, look at all this stuff that I've done. And you should remember the bad to keep yourself humble and grounded and always having things to complete? That is the nature of tshuva. Happy birthday, Robert, says James Bong. And Bloodnose told him to extend a happy birthday. Indeed, indeed. I am an eager witness for others in my life, Bloodnose told Sneezer. I am an eager witness for others in my life. Exactly, Jonathan, said Sneezer. We're saying the same things. Good, good, good. Yes, we might use different terminology, phrasing, whatever, but as I've said before, we agree on a lot of things, at least in principle, I guess. Bong is in his house. Thanks, bro. Thanks all, says Robert Harrison. Nope, Mallorca. I was like, what? That's part of Hawaii? Island on the other side of the pond in the Mediterranean. Bloodnose, amen. Oh, whoops. Oh, amen. Always look for the good in people, said Sneezer. Yeah, right. A nikudat zchut, a me'at tov. That idea of trying to find the place where a person is good, even if even that goodness in itself is full of, let's say, dirt and grime of wickedness. You need to, with yourself primarily, see where you can work from, because you need to hang on to something that you're doing right, something that you're doing well, however poorly, however, just something where you're doing right that you can sustain yourself and say, despite everything, there is something that I'm doing a little bit of good in. I want to focus on that. I want to be the type of person who does that more and have that extend more fully into that area and other areas because of that. And this is what I'm setting my mind to. And this is what I want to set my actions towards. And here's how it's going to happen. Simply saying those words, having those thoughts, orienting yourself, it makes a difference. In the very small scale of time, no, but over time, you find yourself at a different place entirely if you shift a little bit here or there, in good and bad. Cheers, I'm drinking Southern Sweet Tea. So is it actual tea leaves, or is it a kind of infusion, or what is Southern Sweet Tea? Please do share. Distrusting, said Bloodnose, of what people say, in large part because of how we receive information through the internet. First of all, thank you for referencing what we, what it is that you were talking about, it's such a big help. I immediately know that what you were going to. And you say how receive, yes, information through the internet. Yep. Bong says, I can't confirm or deny that I smoke weed. So you can't get in to see Snoop, who is smoking on stage. Ironic. Yes, it is ironic. Yay, Canada, said Sneezer to Bloodnose, and LOL to James Bong. I was pissed, of course, said Sneezer. Just B.O.B. good enough and worth the wait. All the best, bro. Oh, thank you. Really, I gotta work on my Herbert, huh? Thank you. All the best to you. Be blessed and be a blessing to others. Just B.O.B. Bong says, wearing my IDF support hoodie feels warmer out when you have an Israeli flag on. Oh, that's nice. I hope that you're not out of place. I hope you are actually at a place where you can do that without, well, without the danger of getting your ass kicked or killed. And it's almost been an hour. I'll stop just for a quick moment and say thank you. Thank you, people out there, those watching now, those watching later. I don't take it for granted that I'm sitting here in the comfort of my home, drinking tea, chatting with you live, enriching this Wednesday, bringing it to a close with some Hebrew lore from days of yore, and with, your contributions and the questions, the answers, the wonderments, the Herbert voice, and everything in between. It's been really, really lovely, and I thank you. I deeply appreciate your engagement, your contributions, your views, your likes, your subs, your kind attention, your time, and it's great. Okay, let's continue. Oi, someone is coughing up there. Sleep well, little doodle, whoever you are. They threatened to call the cops on me? Oh man, that's awful. Of course you'd be pissed. Come on. I always get caught, keeps me honest, LOL. Yeah, but some rules, were made to be broken, and some rules need to be changed, some rules can be bent. Are monks and Nazarites similar or no? So they're similar in the sense that in Hebrew it's the same word, Nazir, right? I am a Hebrew Nazarite, Nazir Ivri. There is Nazir Buddhisti, Nazir Catholic, Buddhist. Others, in that way, they are similar, right, with the actual. But they're different, and I have a video on this. Is the Hebrew Nazarite a monk? Or, right, is the Hebrew Nazarite a Jewish monk? That's the name of the video, and I think it survived the deletion of my old channel, and that it's in the archives in this channel. So look it up if you want. Is the Hebrew Nazarite a Jewish monk? And I came to the opinion, not necessarily conclusion, but opinion, based on the nature of the different vows. And I took the Catholic vows as an example. And the Catholic vow is threefold, right? It's three different vows. And the Hebrew one is one vow, which is threefold. All right, three separate vows, one vow, which is three. And so there are similarities there, but that it's not. And I would say that, and I likened it to Star Wars, where you would say if monks are the Jedi, the Nazarites are not the Jedi, but they are Force sensitive. That's what I would think, right? That's the way that I conceptualized it in that video. They are monks in the sense that they separate themselves in certain ways, but they're not monks in the way that they're not meant to specifically separate themselves from all earthly delights and pleasures. They're supposed to take a wife, let's say. They are supposed to procreate. It doesn't matter if a Nazarite is rich or poor. A Nazarite, he or she remains. It's not necessarily about that. It's about opening up a kind of inner chakra inside of you, right? Being that image of God. The Nazariteship is an unlock to something where in my experience, talking to other Nazarites and in my personal experience, you have the capacity, right, by limiting yourself in those specific things, which is, right, hair, death, great products, you can unlock something which transcends death and the left side and be a middle pillar of mercy. That's what the Nazariteship is about, that middle pillar. All right, a nazir, a nezer is a crown. The crown is above that whole thing. And I've spoken of it many times. So I don't think that they are monks in the way that Buddhists or Catholics are monks, nuns, friars, whatever the case may be, but they do separate themselves in some ways, and some Nazarites did shut themselves away from the world and shun earthly delights and pleasures and so on, right? Emulating sort of what Moses did, where he wore the mask and he had the wife and kids, but then he let them go, right? And he went on his own path pretty much alone, like that. You know what I'm saying? Other people were there, obviously, but it was his journey. I hope that kind of addresses it, if it doesn't answer the question. And maybe check out that video, Is the Hebrew Nazarite a Jewish monk? I don't mind if people would call me a Jewish monk. I just don't think of myself as that. Okay. By forget a lot of bad, I mean the bad we've done. Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. There's a teaching that, I mean, it's not similar, I suppose, but it did cause me to think of it just now. There's a teaching in the Gemara, is it the Gemara? The Talmud, anyway, if I'm not mistaken, that says that when you transgress once and you transgress twice, and then it starts to become permissible. In other words, if you repeat something, the reason why it was bad, it has the tendency, or it has the capacity, the ability to fade. And you'll find your own justification, you'll find your own reasoning, you will rewire yourself, so to speak, in order to justify your current behavior, this, that, and the other, and you need to be able to discern. It's right, each with him or herself, on what it is that you're doing and why, what is good behavior, bad behavior, what do you consider moral, and so on and so forth. How do you want to behave? How do you not? To forget the bad you've done, it's a question of how much you ignore your conscience, let's say. How much do you ignore that divine calling that's saying, no, you're doing something wrong right now, you're doing something bad right now, you're doing something that does not align with who you truly are right now, either or, all of the above. And then it's not necessarily that you forget the bad, it's that you, what's the word, it kind of mutates, I guess. It's not the word I'm looking for. I'm looking for a fancier word, but it changes because your psyche and your attitude towards it changes. It becomes something where you build a machine inside of you that says, that reinforces that behavior, that action, whatever it is. And just as it's being built in your psyche and in your mind, and the neurons are firing and they are gaining strength because, right, those that wire together fire together and all that, and you grow that network that's associated with that bad thing, and if it repeats itself, there's more of a chance of it repeating itself than not. And that's because the attitude around it has changed. Something about your actions has caused you to view it perhaps differently. Perhaps. Okay. But I think I know what you mean when you say forget a lot of bad. Sometimes you need to forget the bad, conversely, in order to do some good. You need to put that aside and say, yes, I did a lot of bad, but right now I'm trying to be good. And in things that I know are good, not things that I tell myself are good and are permissible. No, things that I know are actually good from the beginning, from the onset, from the get-go. And so I'm going to not focus on the negative things, not going to focus on my transgressions, my iniquity. I will try my best to focus on the good, amplify the good, and make it more of a force in my life, in thought, word, deed, actions, behavior, conduct. And in doing so, that negative thing, again, there is a point where it tilts and the goodness spreads. A little bit of light expels a lot of the darkness, yes? All you need is a little bit of light to expel a great deal of darkness. Okay. Going through that judgment, though, sure teaches you not to be judgmental. Yes, I think there's something to that. You need to know when and how to judge, when and how to pass judgment. And I've mentioned in the past how that idea of rebuking, right, of providing criticism. In the days of the Second Temple, they were like, it's not for our generation. There's nobody who can properly rebuke someone, and there isn't somebody who can properly receive the rebuke of someone else. And that was 2,000 years ago. Basically, yes, remember the bad to keep yourself humble, in short. Be humble. Sit down. Yes, we basically only disagree that Jesus is dead, and it's understandable. Yeah, that's right. So Bloodnose says, as a witness, it's not only looking for the good, but how someone was treating for who they are. How someone was treating or treated. How are you? Sunita says, we always have a choice to be better, to try harder, but we are only human and need rest too. Yep. I was just talking to one of my kids earlier about the fact that a great deal of your life is spent sleeping. And you go, oh man, why does it have to be that way? Why do we need to sleep like 6, 8 hours, whatever it is? And I'm like, it's part of the nature, our earthly nature. It's simply a part of that. The thing is that being as how you spend so much time asleep in life, it should awaken that other side of you that says, and because of that, I should take care and caution to prioritize things that are good in my waking moments and try to do what I can with the time that I have. Catch you guys later, says Ariel. Spurs versus Liverpool about to start. Semi-final. Good for you, man. Who are you rooting for? Well, people in the chat, who are you rooting for? That's actually a pretty good game. That's a good game, and it was started 6 minutes ago. I'm assuming if he said this 9 minutes ago that it was about to start at 10 p.m. God's got my back, says James Bong. Indeedy do, indubitably. My vow, Apostles' Creed, said Sneezer, is heavily Catholic biased, and I've had a problem with that for most of my life, until recently when the Pope confirmed my understandings. Every perspective of God is of the one. Right? The Pope at some point recently said that all religions do eventually lead to the same place. Mashiach now, says James Bong, and serenity. Serenity now! Yofi, I got to the end of this chat. On that note, I will continue another time with more comments and more, right, from BMXers and from Sneezer and from a couple of others that I wanted to do, but I'll do it another time. I came, I saw, I broadcasted. This has been so much fun. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have 7 people and 5 likes. It has been such a pleasure. I hope that there was in this, a little bit of value, something that was that made it worth it for you to come and stay and do and contribute. And I love it. I hope that we will have a good continuation of this week. And hopefully, right? It's the 10th of Tevet. It's a fast day this Friday, from sunrise until Shabbat. And I hope there's still a very good chance that it's prophesied that these days in Zechariah, that these days will become days from mourning and fasting and sorrow and tragedy and woe to days of celebration and dancing and feasting and joy. And there is still a whole Thursday to go before that Friday. And I honestly, truly do believe that there is a very good chance that by the time the sun rises on the 10th of Tevet, Friday morning, here in Jerusalem, we won't need to fast. We won't need to mourn. We won't need to be saddened because something brand new will be coming. And may we merit it, and may we work towards it. And if for some reason it doesn't happen in the interval between now and the 10th of Tevet, by the time it's the next fast, maybe it will be. Good night from Jerusalem. Thanks again.